Hello, I'm back again. And today, I'd like to talk about doing the right thing for the wrong reason. Because I want to look back on two particular incidents in my life that people may have done the right thing, but they did it for the wrong reason. And it influenced, shaped me throughout the years. And it wasn't necessarily in the best of ways that it did it. I may be stronger now because of those two events, but that doesn't mean that it was fun going through. See, I want to go back to my junior high years. In junior high, I was forced to take PE class. Now, I was disabled, so I couldn't truly participate in the PE class, but I was still forced to take it. I was forced to dress out. I was forced to do those things you might think, except there was one small flaw in what I was forced to do. You see, I was forced not to participate with the class. I was forced to essentially sit on a wall for the 55 minutes of class. The teacher would make us line up on a wall with numbers to do the roll. He would check if we were there, and then after he took roll call, everyone else would go to the field and do whatever they did. I'm not quite sure what they did because I was placed still on that wall. I was sitting on my number for that 55 minutes. You see, the teacher probably didn't know what to do with me, so he did nothing with me. So for 2 years of the junior high, I had to go through that. I had to sit on a number and do nothing. I could draw in the sand. I could twiddle my thumbs, although that was a bit hard because the left hand didn't work. So twiddling one thumb, not too exciting. What it did do, gave me 55 minutes to think, gave me that 55 minutes to think about how I was different, how I didn't fit in, how it wasn't fun being disabled. You see, but the teacher probably wasn't aware of everything that he was doing to me. He wanted to protect me. He wanted me to not feel bad about not being able to participate, so he just didn't let me participate. Well, that may have been the right choice, but it was for the wrong reason, and he went about it wrong. You see, I was separated. Being separated isn't a fun thing. With being separated, I was already feeling that way before that class, and then that continued. And all it did was ensure that I would grow up disliking PE because of that experience. That experience wasn't anything constructive other than perhaps the time it gave me to think and reflect on life. Well, that was something that for 2 years you could do, but that's not the best way. We now have the No Child Left Behind type of thing where we want children to be included. We want them to be at the same level. You see, that didn't exist back then because maybe the teachers and the other people just didn't know what to do. So they did nothing. They fell short of their goal of really making me feel valued. So I had to find my value in something else. I learned over the years to find my value, my worth in God. But that took us a while. It took the struggle of something like the PE class to make me try to wonder if I was worth anything, what my value was. It made me just less of a person, or so I felt. Now, in God's eyes, He's exactly, He made me exactly how He wanted to make me, because He doesn't make mistakes. But you see, when you're a child, you don't necessarily know that. You don't know what your value is. You don't know what your worth is. So when you're growing up and people trying to reinforce that you have no worth, you don't necessarily know to look for God for the answers. It's only when you grow up and can search and truly see God for who He is that you find you have value in His sight, that He made you who He wants you to be. But that is something that I had to struggle with as a child, and PE class certainly didn't help that matter any. And also in junior high, I went with my youth group to the Mexico with YouGo. Now, YouGo is a ministry opportunity for kids of junior and senior high age to go down and have that chance to minister to people in Mexico. Well, that all sounds good, but one time there were 2 interpreters on that trip that went with us that told me that I was crippled because I didn't pray hard enough. Again, that was junior high years. This was during my formative years, trying to figure out how I fit in. And they're telling me that I'm not measuring up to what God wants, that I'm falling short of what God wants from me. If I would only pray harder, believe more, He would heal me. Well, over the years, I've learned that God doesn't necessarily heal everyone. He has a purpose for everyone and everything. It is only when you find your purpose through His eyes that you can understand that even if you are seemingly deficient in an area, God still has a purpose for you. He has a reason for you. He has it laid out of what He would like for you. It is by drawing on His strength, His wisdom, His knowledge, that you can begin to see what it is that He has for you. But as a child, as that formative years, I was crushed because obviously I was falling short and didn't think that I could do it. It was something that was very painful, and I can still remember all these years later the impact that it made on me. Well, like I said, now I know that God may not choose to heal me unless healing me would bring someone else to Him. You see, my salvation, my security is not dependent upon whether or not God heals me. You see, I know my security with God, and I know that whether I'm healed or not, He still loves me. He still wants me. He still desires me. He is the one that I need to put my hope and trust in. He is the one who designed my life. He allowed me to have the cerebral palsy as a gift, so where He could use me how He wanted to use me throughout my life. And all of my praying while it may be a good thing to pray constantly, it's also not a good thing to be praying so hard for something that you want that is not in line with what God desires. You see, we have to have our prayers be aligned with the desires of God. If our prayers are not aligned with the desires of God, there is a fault, there's a break that is not something that is anything good. Once we can align ourselves with the desires of God, our prayers can become effective. We will know what to pray for because we will have the same desires and the same will as God. It is not whether or not I pray hard enough to be healed. It is something that I have security in, knowing that He loves me with or without the use of my entire body. So please remember that He loves you, He desires you. You need to look for Him for the answers. It is not something that you have to have all figured out when you go to Him. You see, if we had everything figured out, we wouldn't need Him. It is because we don't have everything figured out, we don't have all the answers, that we need to put our trust and our hope in Him. We need to lean on Him. If we lean on Him, He will help us through life with true guidance. That is what we need. If we look through our own eyes, we will fall short. If we go through His eyes, that is when everything becomes clear. So, looking back now, I know that those two different people, the PE instructor in junior high and the two interpreters, they meant well. They wanted me to succeed. But you see, they went around about it the wrong way. They didn't look at it through God's eyes. That is what I'm encouraging you to do. Look at things through His eyes, so where things become clear. Please, it is never too late to do that.